Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. YK Music Productions composer and multi-instrumentalist Yeakun Yoo is today's guest. Yeakun will talk about his experiences as a game and film composer, music producer, and audio director. He is the winner of 2 major international film scoring competitions, the 2021 FMF YTA contest and the 2021 CAIFF film scoring competition.
Film, TV, and game composer Yeakun Yoo. Welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's really a pleasure. Yeakun, did you always want a career in the gaming industry, or did it all start with your love of music?
Yeah, basically, I'm a huge, I'm a gamer myself, and then I love game music as well. So, since I'm a gamer, I naturally got interested in game music industry as well. So that was a very good start for me.
That's interesting because my sons are older now, and they still game now more than ever. One's about 30, one's 26. And when I watch cartoons, especially Bugs Bunny, back in the day, I always paid attention to the music. But in the gaming, I never really paid attention to the music because there was so much action and craziness going on. But I paid attention to that. So when did you start playing an instrument? What instruments do you play?
Yeah, so it was a very long time ago. So now I'm 33 years old. And then for about 25 years ago, I started playing violin and piano first. So one of my mother's friend was a pianist, and then she recommended me to take a private lesson from her. And then, I really liked playing piano. So I played piano for about 3 to 4 years. But unfortunately, we had to move out to another city. So I quit the private lesson with my piano teacher. But after 3 years later, I also one of my dad's father's friend was a guitarist, so I could also to go guitar lesson. So I ended up playing multiple instruments like piano, violin, and percussion, and trumpet, and so on. So I naturally got interested in music a lot.
Well, how do you go from, because I played the clarinet for many years, and I can't write a measure of a song. So how do you go from playing any instrument to saying, okay, now I'm going to write music?
Yeah, so not only playing instruments, but also I really like to sing. I think I'm not a very talented singer, but I love singing. So even though I wasn't a trained composer, but I love to write notes. And then back in the days, I also had a perfect pitch. So I was able to write some notes without learning anything about music theories, harmonies. And then after trying, I tried to write several songs, especially when I was in church. I'm Christian, so my musical background is mainly from church, and I wanted to write several gospel songs. Yeah, and then at some point, I really wanted to learn the competition professionally. So I asked my parents if I can take private lesson with a professional composer. And then, they really liked it. So they were looking for several professional composers. And then I ended up studying with a composer.
So I want to talk more about the music, because you've written pieces, obviously, but a score is a very different animal, if you will, than one piece. So how does that work?
Score. What do you mean by score? Like, is it game score, film
Yeah,
score?
I'm sorry, you're right. Like, let's just say game score, for example, because you're not just writing one song, you're writing for the whole thing, correct?
Orchestral piece. Yeah, yeah, right. So, in terms of score, to speak about the score, let me explain about like my background. So basically, I'm a classically trained composer. My major is I majored in classical music composition. So I studied composition from Korea first. And then when I was in university, I learned like classical harmonies, chord progression, and like all things like conducting, counterpoint, like so those kind of things. And yeah, I think that was really good background for me because so that could be very good. I would say good foundation for me to work on film music and game music because most of them are based in orchestral music. So after graduating from university, I also wanted to work for some games or films. So I got a job in music production studio in Korea, and I worked there for like 2 years. And then after the 2 years, I really wanted to study more, so I moved to LA, Los Angeles, and then I studied film music from USC, University of Southern California, which is the best film music school in United States. So yeah, I mean, I love the experience, and then after that, I could work on several like game projects and film projects, and yeah, I mean, score, uh, yeah, it's amazing. So but in order to write a score like full orchestra piece, you need to learn a lot of things like harmonies, orchestration, and I mean, you need to know every single instrument. Like for example, like trumpet. Like there's a lot of trumpets. Like there's trumpet in B flat, C, and then we should know what is the lowest pitch, what is the highest pitch. I mean, you know the clarinets. And then yeah, I mean, I know every single things. So it took a lot of time for me to train to know all about music. Yeah.
That's really incredible to me. And it resonates with me, Yeakun, because I was a teacher for 33 years. And I love when guests come on and they talk about how they just not hone their craft, but how they continue to get better and better. And it's great that there's private lessons, schools, such training that you had. And yes, you have the knack for, I mean, if I had the same training, I wouldn't be able to do what you do. But you really can't do what you do without that kind of training. And it's so much hard work. I hope gamers are watching and realizing how much goes into this. And I want to tell you a brief story. So my grandfather, I only met him twice. He was in Beverly Hills, California for many, many years. He was a very well-known composer in California at the time. He wrote for a show on TV called The Loretta Young Show. He wrote all the music. He wrote the music for One Step Beyond, which is like an eerie kind of version of The Twilight Zone. Once we started to see from, I guess you're familiar with BMI, there's BMI and ASCAP. BMI used to send quarterly payments, and statements. And we would see all the different shows that his music was on. But then, although I only met him twice, well after he died and I was older, I started to research him more. And some people wrote about him in books, and some people from One Step Beyond wrote, and Loretta Young wrote that he would go into, I guess, the film area, and they would show the episode. And when he left, they said to him, "Oh, did you get, good notes of what you want to do?" But what he left with was the music. So, and they said that he was one of the only people they knew to do that. But it turns out years and years later, and I was too young in the beginning to research this. So he wrote a song called Sleepy Town Blues. And that song is in Fallout New Vegas, which I think might be a PlayStation game or something. So I think that's just so incredible that the music they choose and the process going through it. So when you do it for a game, do you have to know either the background of the game, and that's fine, or you have to see the game in action? What is your process when it comes to, hey, I have to match? Composing is hard enough when you're just doing it for the people to listen, but now you're doing it for background. How does that process work?
Yeah, so it is quite complicated. So it depends on the project. But let me give you a short story about the game I scored last year. There's a game called Lies of P, and then yeah, it is really successful game last year. I mean, it's award-winning game from a lot of like communities and yeah events. So when I had a meeting with the Lies of P, like the game company is Neowiz, which is based in Korea. And then when I had a meeting with them, they wanted me to be fully creative in competition. So unlike other game projects, they didn't give me any reference. They didn't give me specific like examples or like introduction of the game, but they only gave me some like gameplay videos and images, and then just wanted me to be fully creative. And then it was really good for me because I mean sometimes if they give me a lot of references, then I got stuck in that reference. So I just tried to like mimic the references style, genres, and their instrumentation, orchestration, and I mean sometimes it is easy for like finishing multiple tracks in like short time, but that game was like the budget was like over like 200 million, and then they wanted a masterpiece, like in terms of music they wanted a masterpiece, so they wanted me to be fully creative, and then that worked really well. So what I did was I tried to imagine if I were the protagonist in the game. So Lies of P is a game about fairy tale based game. So like P is Pinocchio, you know Pinocchio, right? So it's kind of like an adult version, like dark version of Pinocchio. So yeah, I mean, so like Pinocchio, like when he makes lies, I mean his nose like get longer, right? So but I mean, but the main thing is he really wanted to be a human, right? So I really wanted to focus on his desire, how he wanted, how he like wanted to be a like human. So I mean, I focus on that emotion and the desire, and I try to create like memorable themes based on that emotion, and it worked really well. And then the amazing thing is, after I finished my soundtrack, and then I delivered to the game company, and then the director said, "We don't need any revision. We just want to approve." Yeah, so it was like in my lifetime, I never had that experience, and then yeah, that was the perfect time that I had ever had in my life.
Well, I was going to say that that doesn't sound like just like a once in your lifetime. It sounds like a once in a lifetime thing when these people in the gaming industry or any kind of entertainment product just take something the first time. And Lies of P ranked in the top 5 on Steam.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Right.
millions of copies. So, but how did they know to look for you? Were there other people up for the job, so to speak? What made them go to Yeakun Yoo for that?
Yeah. So it was like full of like coincidence. So actually, there was like I have a music production company in Korea, and I have 3 assistant composers, and then one of them she had a friend in the company Neowiz, and that they were colleagues in the same university. And then one day the Neowiz composer contacted my assistant composer and then wanted to know how she was doing. Then she said, I'm working for Yeakun's company, like Viking Music company." And then he said, "Oh, what is that company?" And then she said, "It's a kind of like game sound company. And then our CEO is Yeakun, and then he's doing this kind of music." And then back in the days, Neo Wiz was working on Lies of P, and then he recommended me to his team leader, the audio director. And then the audio director could see my portfolio from my website. And then, yeah, that's how he reached out to me, and then yeah, we communicated. We had several meetings, and then we ended up working together.
Well, what an honor, because it was a big company that hired you. And, I'm still blown away by this no revisions thing. I mean, I was an English teacher for years. No one ever handed him an essay in 33 years. And I said, perfect. So, so I can't believe, I mean, that's just how creative you are. But could you tell us a little bit about, I've interviewed people who have film production companies and even some publishers of books. So a music production company, give me a day in the life or a month in the life of a production company, how people know what you do, what services you provide, what services people ask you for that maybe you didn't initially provide. What does a music production company typically do, or at least yours?
Yeah, for my company, our company's main service is composition. So we are all composers, and then one of them is also sound designer. So we mainly compose music for games, especially in Korea. We make game music, but I have different strategy for Korean market and United States market. So in United States, I'm mainly a film and TV composer, but in Korea, I'm more like a game composer. So in my company, we provide game soundtrack, but also like game sound effect as well. So sometimes I also make game sound effects, like for example, if the character like if there's a like sword sound like that. So that's also interesting. And then yeah, we provide that service as well. And then we also do voice over session. So like in terms of voice over session, we when the game director asked me to find any voice actors, we give them several samples. And then if they like one of them, and then we hire them, and then we have voiceover recognition, and then we add it on audio, and then finally we deliver the audio file to the client. So yeah, basically we're working on all audio related things, but our main service is music composition.
Excellent. So that's a lot of information. I want to do a little deeper dive on that. So a lot of people, myself included, I sometimes think along the lines of music is music. So I'll walk by and hear a game being played and I'll hear music. But it sounds like, because you said you do TV also, and we'll get to that in a second. But what is the main difference, or a big difference between writing music for games, aside from the voiceovers, obviously, because they're animated? What is the difference between, hey, I'm writing game music, I'm writing background for TV music? What makes game music so different?
Yeah, so like simply speaking, the main difference between game and film is when I work on games, I can fully focus on the soundtrack. But otherwise, when I work on films, I have to consider a lot of different things. So, for example, when I compose a film soundtrack, I have to think about dialogue and like ambience, and like there's a lot of sound effect on the film. So, I mean, music is not the only thing in the film. So, I mean, the priority of the soundtrack is like less like 10% in film. So, I mean, we shouldn't like music shouldn't be the first thing in the film.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so like for example, like writing an overscore is like truly a bad thing in film music. But when it comes to game music, yeah, I mean, we can be fully creative, and that they're comparatively there are less limitations on game music, so we can be fully creative on game, because there's no like dialogue, and there's no like huge sound effect or like ambience in games, so we can be fully creative, and then yeah, we can do whatever we can. So that's why I also like game music yeah, more.
Well, but I've seen many games where there is dialogue, but is that just not as important?
Yeah, I mean, like there are all different kinds of game soundtracks. So like like it is called in-game music. So when we do combat, like there's a combat music, and then when we do like when we are in the lobby and there's lobby music. In that case, there's no that dialogue, but when it comes to like story cues, yeah, there are dialogues, but I was talking about in-game music or combat music or
Right.
lobby themes, yeah, in terms of that.
Yeah, it's so in depth, and I really appreciate that because it tells us so much more that goes on in the gaming industry. Do you still perform, or do you just play for your own enjoyment and just for the knowledge of how to write this music, or do you perform publicly?
Perform like instruments.
Yes.
So I don't think I'm a professional instrumentist. So I use my instrument when I like record for my music. But still, I perform in my church. So I'm I play acoustic guitar in church. So it's not very professional, but like worship, we
Sure.
don't need professional skill. I can just like stroke the chords, yeah, and then yeah, that's enough. Then sometimes it gives me a lot of inspiration for my composition as well. Yeah.
So I want to flip the switch a little bit. On my show, Yeakun, we often talk about the story behind the glory. So this is phenomenal success. Again, no revisions. Again, you could tell that it was a perfect fit. You love to be creative, and they were only looking for someone who loved to be creative. But
Yeah.
what obstacles have you faced throughout your career? Because you didn't wake up and all of a sudden, boom, success, I'm a great composer. What obstacles did you have to overcome?
Yeah. So especially I want to share about the story with you. Like my experience as a CEO, because I have my company, and then yeah, there were some obstacles that I had. So the first thing is like hiring people and managing my teammates. So I mean, like I never considered myself as a CEO before, because when I was in Korea, I was just a musician and an artist, or just a composer. But and then I never learned being a CEO before. But actually, my father, he's a CEO. He worked for NVIDIA Korea.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a CEO for that like for about 7 years, and then he gave me a lot of advices how to become a good CEO. So he gave me advices about how to manage people and how to lead people, and then how to remain like humble. And then that helped me a lot, and then gave me more confidence as a CEO. Yeah. So yeah, and so but still I still had some obstacles because all composers want to be the best composers. So like even my assistant composers, they always want me. They always want to have their name, like their credit in the film or game. So they sometimes ask me like main credits of the game, but sometimes I can't, because whenever clients reach out to me, then they want to work with me, not my assistants. So it was kind of hard for me to balance those issues. But yeah, we ended up finding some solutions. So sometimes if the clients they don't care about the credits, then I try to give a main credit to my assistant composers. But if the project is like AAA or even more major projects, then I ask my assistant, this is really important one, and then my client wouldn't want to use my assistant's name, and then they agree, and then yeah, now we're balancing those issues. And sometimes I had obstacles with communicating with some clients. So some clients are really kind, and then they're really good, but some clients, they're really picky. So like, for example, like sometimes they ask like a ton of revisions, like without any reasons. So like, for example, initially they wanted this direction, but like several days later they changed the direction, and then they said, oh, I just changed my mind, and then could you just create a new one? And then there was no additional budget for that. And then it was really hard because I'm not only working alone, but I work with my assistant composers. But yeah, I mean, but after experiencing a lot of projects, I could learn how to handle those kind of clients. And then now, yeah, I'm confident with communicating with new clients.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough because it's a shift in mindset. I mean, besides the show, I do a lot of training, and I do it in corporate, and I do camp training in schools. But in the corporate, it's funny. Some of the people that I work with, when it comes up to the CEO, they always thought they would be a CEO, and they always believed that they were a CEO. And it's a different mindset because you said, I never thought I'd be a CEO.
Yeah, right.
And you have to be humble, and that's so refreshing because the fact that you want to include, your assisting team is huge. So in closing, Yeakun Yoo, I can't thank you enough for being a guest on today's show and sharing your incredible journey with us and your honesty and authenticity. I just want to say very quickly to the viewers, don't forget to watch us on E360 TV, available on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. EST, Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, YouTube channel. So remember to subscribe. Yeakun, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.